There is no control over how a border official might treat someone, and they are not trained asylum officers. In fact, their job is to specifically keep out people, not to let them in. I'm sorry, President Biden, you get a thumbs down from me on this. Hello, everyone. President Biden has released his administration's 21-point blueprint for their next steps, reforming the country's immigration system. And the chair of the House Subcommittee on Immigration and Citizenship has announced the restart of a type of visa specifically for entrepreneurs looking to start a company inside the US. We're going to cover all the details right now, so make sure you stay tuned until the very end to hear everything I have to say. And if this is your first time on my channel, please do me a favor and subscribe, like, and share my videos. What is in the immigration blueprint that was just released by the Biden administration? As the number of migrants at the southern border continues to reach the highest levels in 20 years, President Biden released a 21-point plan on immigration, outlining his administration's next steps for reform. The blueprint outlines 5 specific areas that the federal agencies will focus on and calls for the U.S. Citizenship Act and Dream and Promise Act to be passed through reconciliation or other means. Some of these areas include ensuring a secure, human, and well-managed border, implementing orderly and fair processing of asylum applications, strengthening collaborative migration management with regional partners, and investing in Central America to address the root causes of migration. As you've noticed, these initiatives focused on the southern border. There is good reason for that. There's currently a 1.3 million backlog in U.S. immigration courts. The inability of these courts to process the growing number of asylum cases has resulted in a humanitarian crisis, and it is being used by Republicans to avoid collaborating on a bipartisan immigration bill. So, reforming and streamlining the asylum process is a top priority of the Biden administration. It is the first step to getting immigration reform unstuck in this country. The most controversial part of this plan is the renewal of expedited removals, which essentially gives border officials the authority to determine who qualifies for asylum and then immediately expel those who don't. The idea behind this policy is to detect asylum cases early and give them the legal representation they need to effectively navigate the asylum process. However, in reality, this could result in thousands being deported in error in violation of their right to declare and seek asylum. There will be little oversight over this. In response, the immigration advocacy groups are loudly voicing their opposition and calling on the Biden administration to abandon expedited removals. If you'd like to learn more about this blueprint, I will include a link in the description below. My take on this is that this policy for expedited removals is bad, and Biden gets demerits from me for it. There is no control over how a border official might treat someone, and they are not trained asylum officers. In fact, their job is to specifically keep out people, not to let them in. I'm sorry, President Biden, you get a thumbs down from me on this. We've spent a lot of time researching and putting this video together for you, so please do me a favor, subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification button so that you're notified every single time I release a new video. Next, what is a W visa? This week, Congressman Zoe Lofgren introduced the Let Immigrants Kickstart Employment Act, also called the LIKE Act. This creates a new type of visa called the W-1 visa, which allows immigrant entrepreneurs to establish a startup and maintain it inside the U.S. Over time, if their company continues to meet certain performance benchmarks, then it can become a pathway to citizenship for them. This is important because unlike most other developed countries, U.S. immigration laws don't provide a specific immigration option for startup founders. Instead, founders have been forced to navigate employer-sponsored visas, which were designed more than 30 years ago, before phones with internet, social media, and apps ever even existed. And the purpose of the LIKE Act is to attract global talent, promote economic growth, and create jobs in the U.S., thereby helping to maintain the country's competitiveness in technology and innovation. In order to qualify for one of these startup visas, founders must have at least 10% ownership interest in an organization that has received $250,000 from U.S. investors or $100,000 from government awards or grants. The initial approval period for a W-1 visa is 3 years, with the ability to apply for an additional 5 years in extension and eventually get a green card. The Like Act also creates a W-2 visa for essential employees and a W-3 visa for spouses and children of W-1 and W-2 non-immigrants. I think that this is absolutely fantastic. Right now, the main options for entrepreneurs remain very limited, including the E1 and E2 visas for those who are nationals of treaty countries, and the more well-known and flashy EB-5 program, which is basically the millionaire visa. These limit the opportunities to people who either have a lot of money or happen to have the luck of citizenship of a treaty country. And it is not fair to limit the amount of startups, innovation, and growth that our country deserves. If you're concerned about a lack of progress in immigration reform, you are not alone. I am too. In my previous video, I discussed how USCIS and the State Department are wasting family-sponsored visas every single year, and how they could enact a fix to reclaim certain visas and help move along the backlog. I will continue releasing videos as new information and news becomes available. So if you have not yet subscribed, please make sure you do so today. Check out this video and I'll see you there.